Hi guys, I'm Natalie Hurd and this is my war photography presentation. Today I will be discussing Carl Mittens' photo of a French female collaborator from 1944. The photograph takes place directly after the liberation of Paris. Paris was liberated by the French and the U.S. infantry in August of 1944. The 1944 liberation of France endures as a collective memory as a clash of mighty armies, a visual rhetoric that distills the horrors of the occupation, the struggle for freedom, and the jubilation of the liberation. The photographer was Carl Mittens. He was an American photographer who worked for the Farm Security Administration as well as Life magazine. He was born in 1907. He died in 2004. He attended Boston University, and his spouse was Shelley Smith Mittens. Mittens was a photojournalist for the FCA and Life magazine. His assignments for the FCA and Life magazine were from 1935 to 1968. His subjects ranged from rural America, migrant farm workers, and the community of Freer, Texas during the Great Depression, as well as 1940s China, World War II, the Japanese War crimes, Japanese earthquake in 1948, and the Korean War. In 1936, Mittens joined Life magazine as one of its first staff photographers. During World War II, he and his wife Shelley Smith, a researcher at Life, became the first married photographer and reporter team sent overseas by the magazine. His career expanded, and he was delighted to be a photojournalist, and he believed that throughout his career he was a storyteller and a recorder of the times through pictures. What exactly does this image show? Well, there's a female getting her head shaved, two men shaving a woman's head while one man and three women look on. The onlooker's face ranged from taunting and jeering, as you can see the females seem very happy about what's going on, to kind of neutral or confused, like the gentleman on the left, about a little unsure about what's going on. The woman whose head is getting shaved obviously appears to be in anguish. I do not think she's enjoying what is happening, and the barber seemed to be intent and focused on completing the head shaving. During this time, it was customary for women who were considered collaborators to have their heads publicly shaved by civilians to mark them of their title. A little bit more on the head shavings. At the end of World War II, many French people accused of collaboration with Germany endured a particularly humiliating act of revenge. Their heads were shaved in public. Nearly all those punished were women. This episode in French history continues to provoke shame and unease as a result, has never been subject of thorough examination. The punishment of shaving women's heads had a little bit of a biblical origin. In Europe, the practice dated back to the Dark Ages, and during the Middle Ages, the mark of shame was also used. They also used head shavings to mark that. Shaving women's heads as a mark of retribution and humiliation was reintroduced in the 20th century during this liberation, or directly after. How is it composed, and what formal elements does the photographer use? The photographer is at a lower angle, looking up at the subjects. The angle provides a clear look at the subjects' faces, their expressions, and the dramatic action that is taking place. There is a great range in tonality and values. There are extreme highlights and shadows. The focal point is emphasized by the alternating heights of the people, which form a checkmark shape, creating a feeling of stability as well as movement within the image. What was the intended interpretation or emotional response? D-Day landings and joyful pictures of the liberation of France are popular photos from 1944. But among the jeering images there are also shocking ones. The image I chose shows the fate of a woman accused of collaboration horizontal. It is impossible to forget Carl Mitten's image for Life magazine of a woman getting her head shaved by civilians while other onlookers watch, implicitly the result of a relationship with a German soldier. This photo is a key representation of what was going on, a window into the life of a woman in Europe during the liberation of France. Who is the intended audience? It was dispersed in Life magazine. Life magazine was an American magazine that ran regularly from 1883 to 1972 and again from 1978 to 2000. During its golden age from 1936 to 1972, Life was a wide-ranging weekly general interest magazine notable for the quality of the photography. As you can see here, I have a funny kind of picture of Pee Wee Herman, and I also included some art lesson ideas down here. There are some at this website, and then I found a great Photoshop tutorial on YouTube. It's one of the Blue Lightning videos. If you haven't looked him up, he does some really fun stuff in Photoshop that I use in class often. Images, impact. The image was a depiction in history. The primary role of the photojournalist is to be a visual storyteller, by photographing, editing, and presenting images to tell a story in a way that no other media can. The photograph serves the purpose of informing the viewer on the current events during that time in a factual manner. Here are my references, and thank you for listening.